The piratical consultant was a short, round man who looked, well, piratey. Perhaps it was the way he was dressed, in piratey stripes, with a piratey headscarf and a broad piratey belt round his broad piratey middle. Perhaps it was the large gold piratey earring that dangled from one piratey earlobe. Or perhaps it was the piratey way he stood, with his piratey hands on his piratey hips and his round piratey belly sticking out. Tom thought that he looked more piratey than the most piratey pirate he'd ever imagined. Apart, that is, from the big book, which seemed to be called the Big Book of Piratey Stuff, that he held under one arm. "Ebenezer Cheeseboard, at your service," he said, shaking Tom's hand piratically. "But all my shipmates calls me Easy for short."
"Mr. Cheeseboard is our ship's expert on being a pirate," Captain Tremble explained. "He'll teach you everything you need to know. Which reminds me, Mr. Cheeseboard, how should I, as a pirate, be addressing the cabin boy?"
Easy flipped open the Big Book of Piratey Stuff and flicked through a few pages until he found the one he wanted. "Arr, here it be," he said. "I reckons, 'Arr, Tom lad,' is the phrase you're after, Captain."
"Very good, Mr. Cheeseboard. Now, our Tom lad, do you have any questions before you go about your duties?" There was only one thing that Tom wanted to know. "When do we set sail?" "Set sail?" spluttered the captain, the smile dropping from his face. "Set sail? My dear boy, our Tom lad, haven't you understood the first thing we've been saying? We can't possibly just set sail." "But why not?" Tom asked, baffled. "You're pirates, aren't you?"
"Arr," agreed Easy, "but we're health and safety pirates. We don't do anything without a proper risk assessment." Tom was even more puzzled. This was not how he had imagined pirate life. "What's a risk assessment?" he asked.
Captain Tremble shook his head. "Poor uneducated boy," he said. "A risk assessment is a procedure for determining the acceptability of the level of risk in any given situation and ensuring its minimization. Understand?" Tom, thoroughly confused, shook his head.
"What the captain means," put in the first mate helpfully, "is afore we goes about doing something, we have a think about all the bad things that could happen, see? And then we thinks of ways to stop 'em happening," Easy added.
"So," the captain went on, "before our first voyage we looked at all the risks of going to sea. What did we come up with, Mr. Cheeseboard?" The cabin, in which they were now standing, was lined with bookshelves. Easy took a big leather-bound book from one of them and plonked it down on the desk.
"Let's see," he muttered, flicking through it. "Aye, here it be. Risks associated with going to sea. Shipwreck, drowning, scurvy, mutiny, sharks, sea battles, giant squid, storms, lightning, starvation, sea serpents, hurricanes, whirlpools, killer whales, deadly plagues, being eaten by cannibals, and running out of cake." "Arr," the first mate said. "Risky business going to sea is, so we all had a good old think about it."
"And we decided," the captain finished triumphantly, "that the best way to make sure none of these terrible things ever happened to us was to never go to sea at all."
"Which is why," the first mate added, "seeing as you be one of us now, you be safe as houses."
"Oh, much safer than houses," the captain said. "A lot of accidents happen in houses. People running downstairs, playing with knives, that sort of thing." Easy and the first mate nodded in agreement. But we've got to sail," Tom said. "Bad Beatrice Beadle is after us." The captain smiled. "That woman with the bucket of herrings? The one who got stuck up the ladder? I don't think we need worry about her. She didn't seem terribly dangerous." Tom stared in astonishment. He thought everyone knew the tales of Bad Beatrice Beadle and of the terrible revenge she took on any who crossed her. "You do know who she is, don't you?" he blurted out. "She's one of the most fearsome pirates ever. And she's sworn revenge on us, Captain. We're in terrible danger." "Ha!" said Captain Tremble. "We laugh at danger, don't we, Mr. Mate?"
The first mate shook his huge, shaggy head. "No, Captain, we don't."
"You're right," the captain admitted. "We don't laugh at it at all. We actually take danger very seriously indeed. We do a risk assessment on it. That puts it in its place. But the point is," he went on, "you're one of us now, our Tom lad. You're a health and safety pirate. Your risks are our risks, and we all assess them together." Tom was not reassured. "Well, you'd better assess this one quickly, Captain, before Bad Beatrice finds us." The captain clapped him heartily on the shoulder. "Ha! There you are, Mr. Mate. Only been a health and safety pirate a few minutes, and already he wants to do a risk assessment. That's the spirit. Now, Mr. Cheeseboard, is there anything about this Bad Beatrice Beetle person in the big book of piratey stuff?"
Easy had already found the page and was reading it worriedly. "Aye, Captain, there be quite a lot. Look!" He put the book down on the desk next to the other one. The three health and safety pirates bent over it and read together. For a few moments, all was quiet, except for the horrified occasional muttering of "She never," and "She wouldn't," and "Oh, I say, that does sound dangerous." When they had finished reading, there was silence. Captain Tremble looked slightly unwell. "This is dreadful," he said. "We must take action at once. Mr. Mate, form a committee and begin a full risk assessment immediately. We should have the results within a week if you're quick."
"A week?" Tom burst out. "We don't have a week. We've got to set sail now." But we must do a proper risk assessment," the captain insisted palely. "It's not safe doing things without a proper risk assessment." "Look," Tom said desperately, "if we go to sea, one of those terrible things might happen. We might get shipwrecked, or drown, or starve, or get eaten by cannibals. But if we stay here, then Bad Beatrice Beetle will do the dreadful things you were reading about. To all of us." The captain looked as if he might faint. "Even the bit about the hedgehogs?" he said, as if in shock. "Yes," said Tom, "even that. The choice is, we let Bad Beatrice Beetle get us, or we take a risk." The captain looked even fainter. "Take a risk?" he whispered. "Yes," Tom insisted.
"I reckons, Captain," said Easy quietly, "that if we did a risk assessment, we'd end up deciding that possible death in an unknown manner is still a safer bet than certain death with a hedgehog down your trousers." The first mate nodded. "I hates to say it, sir, but I don't see how as we've got any choice. It's risk or hedgehog." Captain Tremble wobbled visibly. He sat down, put his head between his knees, and took a few deep breaths. Then he lifted his head again and said, so faintly he could scarcely be heard, "Give the order, Mr. Mate. Make ready the ship." "Aye, aye, Captain." The first mate saluted and left for the deck. Moments later, his voice could be heard bellowing orders to the shocked crew.
The Careful now was about to embark on her maiden voyage.